It was Wednesday evening, May 17th, and everyone living in the house knew about my Death Day party. That was because everyone had to be invited, as there would be several other people coming and going throughout the Wednesday and Thursday. This was to be a party that lasted more than 24 hours. I had arranged for some drink and smokes. There was food in the house, and my fellow housemates, so intrigued by the idea of my death day, had clubbed together and bought extra snacks. I had a beaten-up record player, somewhat tinny but fully serviceable, that could play up to 5 LP records at a time. I also had a small collection of vinyl that I thought was pretty cool, enough when played as a stack to provide around 3 hours of music if we played both sides of each record. My room was at the top of the house in a converted attic space. The ceiling sloped to match the line of the roof, and my bed was tucked into a corner of the room. I had very little in the way of furniture, but did have 2 mattresses and some cushions. These acted as my seating area, but people could take a cushion, lean against a wall, and still feel fairly comfortable. In the central wall was a disused fireplace. It had been closed off with some plywood, but it did offer some ventilation. There was a dormer window at one end of the room. The house was halfway up a fairly steep hillside, and it afforded a great view of the city, especially at night when the streetlights would twinkle into the far distance. I would sometimes stand at that dormer window and gaze out over the city for hours, just watching the city life going on around me. A couple of old rugs covered the wooden flooring, and my record player was tucked away in the corner diagonally farthest from my bed. People started to arrive at around 8 in the evening, and the party atmosphere continued to grow as more people arrived. My 5 housemates had all promised me they'd be there, though one was going to be late. Although they were all students, they had not really shown any inclination to socialize as a group. We'd all been more interested in maintaining our existing friends and interests outside of the house. But this special party was bringing us together. In addition, there were a number of mine and my brother's friends that would be coming to swell the numbers up to around 15 strong. No one had thought of what they'd do when I died. They were just interested in being at a party where someone may die. That was the appeal, macabre though it was. By 10 in the evening, almost everyone had arrived and the party was in full swing. People were chatting, drink was flowing, the snacks had almost all been eaten, and we were all enjoying the social atmosphere. A couple of people volunteered to go out and buy more snacks and drink from a local 24-hour store. Everyone chipped in with a little money, and off they set. It was only when they came back that we realized the clock hands had moved much closer to midnight. It would soon be Thursday, the 18th of May. And I could now die at any time. The buzz of conversation started to reduce as people spoke more in whispers than in full-stream chat. The effect of the alcohol was also taking its toll, as 4 or 5 of the merry group had already fallen fast asleep, even with the music still playing fairly loudly. But still, we were adamant that the party would continue. And so it did. By 9 in the morning, we were all feeling tired, but 7 of us had made it through the night without falling asleep. Those of us who had managed to stay awake had been helped by some very strong coffee that had been made at around 3 in the morning and again at 5. It was time to get everyone up on their feet and see what happened during the day. A discussion broke out about whether or not it would be more prudent to just stay in my bedroom or better to go outdoors and act as though it was a normal day. "What would you normally do on a Thursday?" I was asked. "Well, I'd usually go for a walk into the town centre, meet with some friends, and possibly go for a meal or a drink at a bar," I replied. The consensus was that we should do just that. Not everyone wanted to go, though. Some who had not yet slept wanted to go home to their beds. Others had things they either needed to do or wanted to do more than staying with me. My party was visibly decaying before my very eyes. But, with 4 others to accompany me, I set off into town to see what the day would bring. The distance from the house to the centre of town was just a little less than 2 miles. As the weather looked good, we decided that we'd all walk. After all, none of us was in a hurry. Strolling alongside one of the main roads into town, we chatted and joked about how the previous evening had gone. Everyone seemed to be in quite high spirits and enjoying this strange event. The thought that anyone was going to die seemed to be furthest from everyone's mind. Eventually, we made it into town and started wandering around the central area, visiting shops, looking in at the local market, even popping into a pub or two for a leisurely drink and more chat. It seemed that we were just a bunch of friends out shopping or going about their regular business. Time marched on, and still nothing had happened to me. People started to get a little bored. With nothing specific to maintain anyone's attention, one by one my 4 friends decided that they had better things to do, and that the whole idea of a death day party was probably a little strange, and perhaps they'd be better off going back to their usual routine. So, at around 7 in the evening, I found myself alone and walking back to my house, feeling just as my friends had. The whole idea that I could have foretold my own date of death seemed ludicrous, and I should have known better. I had just entered my home street when I saw my brother sitting on the steps leading up to the house. As I was approaching, he jumped up and shouted, "I didn't think you would want to be on your own, and I guessed that the others would have left you," he said. Saying that touched my inner core. He was my brother. He was there to support me, even though I knew that he, too, thought that the whole death day idea was stupid. We entered the house, and I immediately went into the kitchen to make us both a cup of tea. I couldn't think of a better way to spend my last few remaining hours than to be with a member of my family. We took our tea up to my attic room and just chatted, talking about when we were both kids and spent so much time together then, realizing that we'd grown apart as we'd got older, each of us following what we thought was our own destiny. It was so nice to feel that closeness and family bond returning. Me lying on my bed and my brother close to me on a mattress on the floor. It felt befitting to spend my final few hours with just my brother there beside me. Time marched on. I felt a massive wave of tiredness come over me, so much so that I found I couldn't keep my eyes open or my mind on following my brother's steady talking. I drifted away.